throat, and her lower body. Her belongings were scattered along the trail, ruling out robbery as a motive. Her Volkswagen Rabbit was left in the parking area. Some witnesses reported seeing a gray car in the area around the time of Kathy's murder.
Wow, that's a lot of stab wounds. So you're either going to have some kind of a lot of rage. When investigators see that, they oftentimes think that it was personal, right? Or on top of that, you're very comfortable. It's not quick. It's not efficient. So yeah, that's pretty interesting in a dark way that there's that many, stab wounds to that victim.
Like a frenzy killing.
Yeah, definitely.
And we'll get on to more of that here in a few minutes. Investigators were baffled. A $5,400 reward was offered for information that would lead to tips or, an arrest, but nothing credible ever came of this. It was not until July 1981 that a second woman disappeared while hitchhiking. Her name was Mary Elizabeth Critchley, but she was known as Betsy. Last seen near exit 13 of the Massachusetts Turnpike near Framingham after she had visited a dentist. A friend had dropped Critchley off at the exit. She was a student at Antioch, New England Graduate School in Keene, New Hampshire, with plans to hitchhike back to Waterbury, Vermont, where she had a roommate. She's living in Vermont, but she's attending graduate school and just hitchhiking. No big deal. She does this all the time.
Yeah, it's still back in the day when that was just an easy way to get around if you didn't have a ride.
The medical examiner was unable to determine the cause of death when her body was finally discovered on August 9th of 1981 in the woods off Unity Stage Road in Unity, New Hampshire.
Oh, shit.
Told you to keep that city in mind.
Back in Unity.
Woodcutters working in the area made the discovery, and they had to use dental records to identify her remains. She was 37 years old at the time of her death, and like Kathy, Betsy was from a good family. She grew up in Forestville, Connecticut, where her mother was a teacher focusing on special education. Betsy came from a large Catholic family. She had 8 siblings. Her youngest sister, Casey, was born with Down syndrome, which was one reason why her mother had gone back to school to get a master's so she could teach special education. Her family was really active, as I mentioned, in the Catholic Church. They also had a singing group.
Wow.
The family did. And they appeared on the Ted Mack Show and the Arthur Godfrey Show. When Betsy's body was discovered, she was missing her sandals and a knapsack, but otherwise fully clothed.
So you keep seeing these bodies turn up here. They're hidden so well. They are eventually discovered, but long after the fact. Valuable evidence gone. DNA, certain, as far as maybe the killer's DNA. I'm not sure exactly how that works. But yeah, that's someone, seems like they know where to hide these damn bodies. Maybe not forever, but for a very long time.
I should also mention this body was found in Sullivan County, New Hampshire, which is also where Kathy Milliken had resided, in the same county.
That's interesting. Very interesting.
Next murder that we're going to get into, and now this one is not necessarily connected to the Connecticut River Valley Killer, but again, it's one of these cases that makes me wonder if there weren't 2 serial killers operating.
So Kathy Milligan and Betsy Critchley are connected victims
Those
to
are the first 2 known victims.
Yeah, he's also known as the Valley Killer. We'll call him that.
And the Kellysville Killer.
Yeah, he had quite a few nicknames.
Laura Kempton was an attractive 23-year-old aspiring model who was found dead in her Portsmouth apartment, a ground floor apartment located near downtown where she had an active social life. She was last seen leaving a bar called Ranger Club early one morning. Her body was discovered on September 21st, 1981. She had been brutally bludgeoned to death with a heavy object. Laura was a student at Portsmouth Beauty School and was employed by Marco Polo Incorporated as well as Karen's Ice Cream Parlor. Laura was dating, but she didn't really have a steady boyfriend at the time of her death, which ruled out the possibility that it was, like a boyfriend or a scorned lover. Or
yeah, or like your spouse or what, yeah.
Now, if you remember, Jacqueline Schneider, the visiting vacationing recent college grad, also found dead in Portsmouth.
Wow. There's a lot of, I see why this drug you down that path, honestly.
Less than a year later, 20-year-old Tammy Little was found similarly beaten to death in her ground floor apartment near downtown Portsmouth. From what I understand, an officer had gone to her apartment to speak with her about some unpaid parking tickets and stumbled upon this grisly crime scene. Little, like Kempton, was also studying to be a cosmetologist, attending the Portsmouth Beauty School. Tammy was last seen returning home from a concert in Boston, entering into her apartment alone. She was active socially and known in the area, much like Laura Kempton. Authorities believe there were too many similarities between Kempton and Little, and that they must have been killed by the same person.
Well, yeah, I mean, that sounds rather similar.
She was also a regular at the Ranger Club and had photographs taken in hopes of finding some modeling opportunities, same as Laura Kempton.
Damn.
On May 30th of 1982, an elderly woman named Sylvia Gray was found in the woods a short distance from her home in Plainfield, New Hampshire. Her body was thrown down an embankment, and the autopsy revealed that she'd been badly beaten and stabbed. Sylvia was a widow. Her husband, Harvey Gray, had died only 5 years earlier. On this day, she had finished a tea party at her home with 3 friends. After the tea party, she walked to the post office, which was roughly 5 minutes away, and returned home with her mail. Later, her sister was unable to reach her by phone, kept calling her, and they spoke regularly, ended up reporting her missing. Sylvia was known to wear a 5-carat diamond ring, which was missing off her finger. And this was the only difference from the other cases, is that this is an item that was noticeably gone.
Right.
And there had been no robbery in any of the other murders.
So they were basically
Betsy
found...
Critchley, her sandals and backpack were missing. But, hey, this is a 5-carat diamond ring.
Yeah. That's a little different motive there, maybe just purely for money.
And if Sylvia's murderer is connected to a serial killer, they like to take trophies.
Well, that's true. And we don't know, maybe there was some unknown little trinkets taken from the other victim that people didn't realize. That could be possible.
On May 20th, 1984, the body of All-American Girl, that's what she was described as in the local newspaper, Heidi Martin, was found after she'd gone for a jog in Hartland, Vermont. The sophomore track team member's body was found in a small stream off a logging road near Hartland Elementary School. She had been raped and also stabbed in the neck and abdomen area, which was a very similar calling card of the other 2 victims, the stabbing in the neck and in the abdomen area.
My God, it's a lot of victims.
I know.
Phew, my head's swimming.
Now, some list Heidi Martin as a victim of the Connecticut River Valley Killer, but others don't believe so. But she was stabbed, left in kind of a wooded area near a stream. It fits the MO. May 30th, 1984, and this is a case that is connected to the serial killer. A 17-year-old nurse's aide who worked at a rest home and also attended Claremont High School, her name was Bernice Courtemanche. She's French. Was last seen in Claremont, New Hampshire, which is in Sullivan County. Claremont, that's the town that's going to come up again. She was hitchhiking to see her boyfriend, Ted Berry, at his sister's house in Newport, but she never made it to her destination. The following day, she was reported missing. Now, it is said that Courtemanche lived a fairly normal life, very stable. She came from a working-class family. She wasn't an incredibly popular student, but she wasn't a loner. Now, initially, police thought it's possibly a runaway, as they always want to say.
So many runaways.
When a teenager is missing.
That's what they say every time.
But her family argued, she had a $113 paycheck coming within a few days, and there's no way she would have left without taking money or taking her stuff.
Yeah, why would you?
2 years later, her skeletal remains were found, April 19th, 1986, just off Cat Hill Road in Newport, New Hampshire. She had died from stab wounds. Her possessions were scattered along Sugar River near the body. Sugar River was a popular trout fishing spot known to many locals.
That sounds like that's just crazy. How 2 years later before the body's discovered. So, I mean, someone knows how to hide a damn body. I mean, that's for sure.
And she's stabbed, her possessions scattered, much like the Kathy Milliken case, where she's at this, nature preserve.
Yep.
Her body's found, her personal items strewn all about.
Yep.
A few months later, on July 20th of 1984, 26-year-old Ellen Freed was last seen at a phone booth in front of a store in Claremont, New Hampshire.
Damn.
Again, Unity, Claremont, these are towns that are going to keep cropping up. Ellen was an outdoorsy young woman who'd grown up in a small upstate New York town. She had recently broken up with a long-term boyfriend, a guy named Tommy, who was known to drink a bit too much. So moving to Claremont was like a fresh start for her. This store, located in a rougher part of town, was closed. But the nurse, who worked at Valley Regional Hospital only for a short period of time, had stopped to use the payphone, was on the phone with her sister for about an hour. Now, during this call, she happened to mention a car had driven by several times while she was talking, and she told her sister this made her nervous.
Well, yeah, so it happened enough that she actually mentioned it to her sister while she's talking to her on the phone.
Well, yeah, you're standing at a payphone and some creeper keeps driving by slowly. It's going to weird you out.
Yeah, it'd weird me out. But who the hell is that supposed to be?
When Ellen failed to show up for her shifts at the hospital, co-workers reported her missing. A search of the area found her car on Jarvis Road, which is about 3 miles from the spot where she was using the payphone. Her body was found in September of 1985 by hunters in a secluded wooded area near the Sugar River in Kellysville, which was only about 10 miles from where she was last seen. So car found 3 miles away, body found 10 miles away. This killer is not traveling very far with these victims.
No, he's doing his thing. It seems like he's either coming upon them right where they're at.
Ellen Freed is considered to be a victim of the Connecticut River Valley Killer. Although no cause of death could be determined, it was suspected, homicide. Investigators believe she had also been sexually assaulted. Now, this location was very close to where Courtemanche was last spotted. Ellen and later Courtemanche's bodies, they're found within a mile of each other.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Damn, when you come along in a situation, no matter what it is, it doesn't have to be murder. And you have all this, no direct evidence or ties and stuff, but all this amounting circumstantial evidence. There's a tipping point at some point outside of a court of law. Let's just forget that discussion. Even just drawing conclusions in your own mind. That the circumstantial evidence is overwhelming and you can make some obvious assumptions based on that circumstantial evidence. And I think we've already come up with quite a bit of circumstantial evidence that these are possibly connected in multiple ways.
Our next victim that has been tied to the Connecticut River Valley Killer is a woman named Eva Marie Morse. She was a 27-year-old single mother of a 10-year-old daughter. Her daughter's name was Carrie Washburn. Her life was a little different from the other victims in the case. Now, as I mentioned, these other women were professionals, good families, educated, goal-oriented,
young,
stable,
moving along in their life.
Eva bounced from job to job, had brushes with the law, and lived on the fringes. Eva was last seen July 10th, 1985, hitchhiking along Route 12 in North Charlestown. A woman picked her up and dropped her off near a local animal hospital, and then Eva disappeared. Now, it was said she went to work, told her supervisors that she wasn't feeling well, but before departing work, made a quick phone call. A co-worker later reported that Eva had left work to go see a former lesbian lover, a woman who lived in the Beauregard Village area, which was about a mile north of Leo's Market, where Ellen Freed was last known to be before vanishing, using that payphone.
Oh my God.
Her body was not discovered until April 25th, 1986 by loggers in a wooded area next